Hi, thank you for joining me. Today, we're in the book of Ruth. It's not a very long book, but there's so much in it that God ministers to us in a great way. He wants us to learn these lessons so we might know His heart and His heart revealed to His people. The nation of Israel are given these promises, and the principles apply even to us. So in the book of Ruth, it's only 4 chapters. The very first chapter begins with a sentence, something like this. Please read it for yourself, because I never want to misrepresent it. Read it for yourself. In the days of the judges. Now, in the days of the judges means that that's a period in Israel's history after they had been removed from bondage. They spent 400 years in Egypt, and God sent a man named Moses to deliver them out of Egypt. And God sent the plagues and then eventually the Passover to bring them out of Egypt and take them into the promised land. While they're in this land of promise, they rebel against him. Each man does what is right in their own eyes, and there was no headship or rulership or authority. Whenever they got in terrible trouble, they would cry out to God, and God would raise up a deliverer called a judge that would be one who would deliver his people. But very short order, the next generation rose up, sometimes 30 years. They would forget all about God. They would go back to doing whatever it is that they wanted to do. They would redefine their own truth, and they would wind up in terrible circumstances again, usually oppressed by one of the neighboring countries, and God would hear their prayer, hear their cries, and he would deliver them. Well, during this time, he's also demonstrating that he made a commitment to Moses, and that was, if you follow my precepts, if you keep my commands, then you'll never have to worry about war. You'll never have to worry about famine. You don't even have to worry about disease. Since they've rejected all 3 of those, they go chasing after other gods. They're marrying foreign women. They're doing all kinds of terrible things that God judges them. One of the ways that he judged them was with a famine. The famine was so severe that a man who is named Elimelech, he had a wife named Naomi. This couple had 2 sons. So they're on their way to being an okay family, but with the famine being in the land of Israel, Elimelech said, we have to leave and go somewhere where we can work, where I can provide for my family. So they go to the land of Moab. When they go to the land of Moab, what you might expect happened. His sons now are attracted to women of Moab, and they marry Moabite women. When they marry these Moabite women, okay, things can be okay, but also in very short order, Naomi's husband dies, Elimelech, and then each of his sons in turn dies, leaving 3 widows. When you find, even in chapter 1 of Ruth, you find that Naomi now is given word that there's a turn of events taking place in Israel. There are now crops coming in. She said, I'm going to go home. But she knows what awaits widows who are foreigners in the land of Israel, that at best they're going to be destitute. They're going to have to eke out a meager living, only being able to glean as a foreigner, which means go in through the crops after all of it has been harvested and picked, and things that the farmer or the people who are working in the fields would drop, they're required to just leave behind. And widows and the poor can go through and pick it up. So maybe you'll have enough that at the end of the day, you'll be able to provide for yourself. Maybe you'll have enough to make a meal to keep you alive. And Naomi knows this is what she's facing. She tells her 2 daughters-in-law, this is the expectation. So she encourages them. She's a good woman. She encourages them. And she said, you ladies should go back to your hometown. Marry someone from your own hometown and start your life. There's still life left in you. There's no life left in me. I have no more children left in me. So you're on your own. And one of them kissed her and with tears said goodbye and went home. But the other one, her name is Ruth. And Ruth said, I'm not going to leave you. Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. That's the key here. There was something about Naomi that translated to her daughter-in-law Ruth. Her God, Naomi's God, was reliable even though the circumstances had been very difficult. The circumstances clearly did not match the expectations. 3 of the husbands all passing away, leaving widows. Now she's going to go back and begin the gleaning in the field process. As she goes back and begins gleaning, it's about the time of the barley harvest. So you find that this is just happens to be the time of the barley harvest, and Naomi sends Ruth into the field to go and glean. Ruth goes into the field to go and glean, and it just so happens that a man notices her. The man's name is Boaz. Boaz, we will find out, is a very honorable man, a very good man, and a man that God is going to use to redeem her and give an example of what it is to be a kinsman, redeemer, and restoration, even for Israel. So Boaz takes notice of her, sees something different about her, that she's a hard worker, but she's not from around these parts, asks questions about her, and people tell him that she is doing this for her mother-in-law. So Boaz looks at her as a respectable and an honorable woman. The next day, she is told, Boaz tells his workers, leave her extra so she can take care of her family. When she comes back home to Naomi, Naomi notices that there is some type of favor that has been granted to her because she has enough for them to have been provided for, and that's not the typical for the women who are destitute. So she asks questions and inquires, and apparently Naomi is aware of who Boaz is and then relates to her daughter-in-law. He is a kinsman and he has the opportunity to redeem. Now, in their culture, if your husband dies, a close relative has the option to redeem you, which means he can even marry you and restore the family and the family inheritance to the family of Elimelech. And that would be an honorable thing, but you have to have the means to be able to do it. You have to have the desire to do it, and you have to complete the task. So you have to meet all the requirements. I need to be a near relative. I have to have the means to redeem. I have to actually have the desire to redeem, and I have to redeem. And Boaz is apparently this man of honor. So we find Naomi then says to Ruth, this is what you're going to do. Take off your mourning clothes. That means the clothes that you're wearing that demonstrate that you're in mourning and grieving for your husband who's passed away, and put on fresh garments. Now go out into the field, and that will signify to Boaz that you are available as a prospective spouse. She then engages with Boaz that day and that evening, and Boaz then says this about Ruth. When you get to chapter 2 and chapter 3, he calls her an honorable woman. It's the same phrase used of the Proverbs 31 woman who is held in high regard, or a virtuous woman. So Boaz describes her as this high-minded, virtuous woman, one who could be viewed as great character because look at how she's taking care of her mother-in-law. Boaz is attracted to her, so he then inquires and says, I would like to make arrangements for you to be my wife. She then is clear enough to say, I would love for you to fulfill the contract. Boaz's response is, I would desire to fulfill that obligation. It would give me great joy to have you as a bride and to restore your family. But then he finds out that there's a closer family relative. So Boaz then goes to the city gates to conduct business, has a conversation with the man that is a closer relative, and said, the opportunity is yours. But with that opportunity also comes the marriage to a foreign woman, a woman of Moab. And this man then declines the opportunity, allowing Boaz to be the one to redeem Naomi's family and to redeem the family heritage that belonged to Elimelech. In doing so, he demonstrated the role of the kinsman redeemer, having been a near blood relative, having had the ability to redeem, to be able to have the desire to redeem, and then to consummate and to fully redeem. And he does all of that, the great demonstration. And at the end of Ruth, you find the magnificent section found in chapter 4, where not only are they married, but it restores joy to the home. There's joy to Naomi and her family. Naomi's sorrow has been turned to this time of great blessing. And you read this in verse 16 of chapter 4. Then Naomi took the child that Ruth had borne, took the child in her lap, and she became his nurse. The neighbor women gave him a name, saying, a son has been born to Naomi. So they named him Obed. He's the father of Jesse, the father of David. And these are the generations of Perez all the way through from Hezron to Ram, Aminadab, Nahshon, Salmon, Salmon, Boaz, and Boaz, Obed, to Obed born Jesse, and to Jesse, David. So the heritage and the lineage of the Messiah is now going to come through this union, through this blessing, because this man, through circumstances which we may even discuss at a future date, because it's remarkable how God uses all things, works all things together for our good and for his glory. And he does so even in this chapter, even in the midst of a people who are in rebellion. God is not turning his back. He doesn't turn his ear away from those who are crying out to him, and he doesn't turn a blind eye to those who are impoverished. So that's the heart of God in the midst of this, and the lessons run even deeper. God bless you as you study his word. Thank you for joining me.